Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Dennis. So this video is kind of a continuation, but a whole bunch more. So if you ever wondered if your motherboard's working, some of the things that it's going to come up with, like memory error, but you change the memory and it still doesn't do anything, watch the video. I literally replace every part to determine what was wrong with it. I think you're going to like it. I think it's going to teach a whole lot in this one video. I certainly learned a lot, and I hope you will too. So let's get on to it. We're going to see the 6800 XT in action. It's going to be working. You're going to see it. I'm even going to stress test it. So let's get on with it. Here we go. So this is the computer that I put the Radeon 6800 XT after I did a repair on it. And then the system shut down and it's saying CPU. Now, the CPU that's in here has been giving me grief in the past anyway. So I don't know. I thought maybe it's not, maybe it is. But I swapped it out, put a 1080 that I had in here, and it's still doing the same thing. So I don't think it's the graphics card. We're going to find out because I'm going to replace the CPU in this thing. So that's what we're going to do right now. Okay, I've unplugged the CPU fan from the stock cooler. I was eventually going to replace this anyway, but I'm going to do it now. We're just going to unscrew this. And we're going to replace the CPU. I think that's all it really is. But you know what? If we do it and it turns out not to be that, well, then we'll know. Thankfully, I have ordered one to replace it anyway because I knew something was wrong. Because I was just getting too many intermittent errors. I even tried a new power supply, by the way, just in case anybody was wondering. Different graphics card, and that didn't work. Reseated the memory. So just all this stuff doesn't work. With that little drop that you just heard is the backplate dropping off. So in actual fact, this thing is probably already disconnected. So I'm just going to make sure it's all off. Yep, you can see they're all off. So never pull up when you're taking this off. Okay, gently just move it back and forth a little bit. See how that just twisted? That's what you want. If you pull right up, you'll pull it right out of the socket. All right, so I'm going to do this just a little bit, just gently until it breaks that seal. There, it's not on there. It's where it should be. All right. So I'm going to clean that off, clean off the stock cooler, because technically it's still good, but you never know, you might want to use it down the road. And then we're going to replace it. Okay, so I honestly don't know what could be wrong with that, but I know I've had it in this system, or this motherboard running, and seemed to be running fine. I had it in another system, seemed to be running fine, just always constant intermittent problems. So I've narrowed down everything right down to CPU. So I now have the 5600X, just something a little bit cheaper than what it used to be years ago. So I'm going to take this out. I'll save it for now. Maybe I'll test it out some other time later on. But at least right now, I'm just going to take it out, put another cooler on, and find out if it works. If it doesn't work after this, then it wasn't CPU, something else going on. Maybe, I don't know. I'll have to try and figure it out. But for now, I just want to test that. So, I'm just going to push down on this lever. Alright, that pulls up all the pins. You'll hear it release. I couldn't quite get to this. Now, I do have a Q-tip to try and get this, but it's pretty hard to get out of there. Yeah, not getting much. Anyhow, not a big deal. So I'm just going to lift that out. Try and not destroy it, even just in case. And we're going to put our new one in. Now this is the AM4 socket, just in case anybody's wondering. And so we always just line that up. Pop it down, put this down underneath there, and you're done as far as installing CPU. That's it. Now we're going to put a cooler back on. 5600X doesn't really need much cooling. So I'm going to use the stock cooler. Yeah, I'm going to use the stock cooler again. Just because, why not? Okay, so we're going to put some thermal paste on. It might be overkill, but that's alright. This is just my test system, so I'm not too worried about it, to be honest. I'm going to have to lift that back plate back up, if I can get it. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. So, bear with me. Now that I can get my hand back underneath of it, we can put it in there. There we go. So the problem is, you got to hold that there. At the same time as you put your stock cooler back on. It's not really that big a deal. It's not really that hard either, actually. If you're doing this, make sure you have your screwdriver handy, or this is going to become a real pain in the butt. It's in there good. Very simple, very easy. Plug your CPU fan back in. And alright, so we have our CPU back in. And basically what we're going to do now is we're going to fire it up and see if that fixed the problem. I do believe it's going to. But I don't know for sure. And I'm going to put my Radeon graphics card in here just to tempt fate that much more and see what happens. See if it will cause enormous problems. Who knows? So give me a minute. I'm going to hook everything back up and let's turn it on, see what we get. Okay, so let's tempt fate all together. I'll speak right here. So I'm going to turn it on. I've got the 6800 XT in there. That's where everything went wrong. Everything else, keyboard, mouse, everything is all connected. So let's turn it on and see what happens. I'm hoping everything will go fine. But we shall see. The other possibility that could be is I have one of the 980 Pro SSDs that wasn't supposed to be affecting the 1 terabyte, so I didn't worry about it. But it's possible that the NVMe drive could have failed too. So, I mean, everything seems to be fine here. Let me just check the LED. Maybe it's memory. Okay, well, we'll play trial and error. We'll try the memory and see what happens. Okay, so far I've swapped out the memory. I've even switched the graphics card. Still nothing on the screen. So at this point, honestly, it's either the motherboard, which I'm really not thinking it is. I think it's the Samsung 980 Pro, or SSD. It's a Samsung SSD 980. Now, that's a 1 terabyte. I thought it was only the 2 terabytes that were affected. So it could be that. If it is, well, I can probably salvage it, but what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to connect a normal hard drive to it and see what happens. See if I get a boot screen. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so I've been testing this board. I even replaced the memory because it's giving me a memory error, but it doesn't seem to matter what I do. The memory, as far as I can tell, is working. I'm not getting a post on the screen. I've swapped out graphics cards 3 different times. I've swapped out CPU. I've literally changed out the NVMe drive. I've done clear CMOS, everything. Literally everything I can think of. So after testing all those different things, even using a graphics card that requires very little power, the only thing I can conclude at this point is it's got to be the motherboard itself. So but the only way to find out is I have to go buy another motherboard. If I put the motherboard in, put everything on it, and it still doesn't work, well, that will be interesting. But I think that's what it is. I think at that point, it's just boiling down to the motherboard, something happened to it. I'm not sure what. So, we're going to go get another motherboard, swap everything out, and see what happens. Okay, so ultimately, I got another motherboard. I'm using the same NVMe drive. I put the NVIDIA graphics card in. Everything is exactly the same. I even reused the same memory. Because even though I knew it was same memory, I knew after testing every component, there was absolutely no way that it shouldn't be working. And as you can see on the screen over there, okay, it's loading everything up. And it's going to be great. It's the B550 Tomahawk, in case anybody's wondering. I've had this before, I've reviewed it, so, but yeah, it's coming up. Obviously there's going to be some driver issues and stuff like that because this is MSI and the other one was ASUS. Once again, ASUS is coming to the forefront here because that was the problem I've been having. As a matter of fact, I even switched the CPU back to the 5800X and the 5800X is working. So all this time I've had trouble. Could it have been that it was the ASUS motherboard? That's really, doesn't speak very well. Hardware verification failed. That's because it's looking at the previous motherboard and stuff like that. So that's not a surprise. I'm going to have to redo some stuff on here. But ultimately, there's one more thing I want to do once I know everything is working. And that's to put the AMD graphics card back in there and verify it actually is working. So I'm going to do some driver updates and stuff like that. But first we're going to go in, we're going to download some AMD drivers, get that NVIDIA graphics card out of there. Right now it just has generic, there's nothing else on there, even though I know it's showing this down here because originally I had the NVIDIA graphics card. But we're going to not worry about that for now. And we're going to go with AMD and see what happens. But after all that, it was the motherboard. So even though it was saying memory, and I swapped literally every component I could, that's what it turned out to be, was the motherboard. Okay, so I have the Radeon RX 6800 XT in here now, plugged in, ready to go. I want to know, could this have possibly caused the other motherboard to fail? I don't think so, but it bears checking out. So I'm going to power it on again and hope for the best, as this is kind of an expensive motherboard. Okay, let's see what happens. Alright, so far so good. I am happy to know that Samsung 980 did not cause a problem. That was not the issue, nor was the memory or anything else. Okay, so we're going to wait here for a minute or so and see what happens. Yeah, hardware verification, I got it. Alright, so let's try this again now. So I've been on here for a while. I'm downloading the Adrenaline software so I can get all the up-to-date drivers and software and all that kind of good stuff. So far, everything is going good. It's not taxing the graphics card at all, as the fans are not spinning right now, but they were when it first started up. Yeah, so the ultimate, if you watch the last video, the Radeon graphics card 6800 XT is working. Coil whine is gone. The thermal pads I put on there obviously worked, and I am a pretty happy guy right now. So I'm going to go install all the software, and yeah, that'll be it. So I wanted to also show you, okay, the software is all installed. Now the CPU's running a little hot, but that's because I got the stock cooler on there for a 5800X, and that's probably not the smartest idea. I will be switching that out. But the graphics card, just running at junction temperature of 44 degrees, GPU temperature 36 degrees, very low power consumption. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this actually. And yeah, do I do a stars test? I'm gonna do that, because who knows what will happen. I want to see what the temperatures get to. 58, 46. So we'll see what happens here overall. It's not even taxing the graphics card yet. Fans aren't spinning yet. So anyway, we'll come back in a little bit, see what we got. So the fans have just ramped up. Those are running now, which is good. Because, of course, as you're stressing it, temperatures rise, which I would expect. And you need the fans to cool it down. Very happy with this. Stress test completed. Awesome. So those that watched my last video, you know the graphics card is working. I actually did fix it somehow. Just by reapplying the thermal pads, reapplying thermal paste instead of what they had on there. And everything's working great. Very happy. Alright, so that's the video. So I wanted to come back because I did the graphics card in the last one. And just coincidentally, that's when the motherboard decided to give up the ghost. And I couldn't tell if the graphics card was still working or not. I love it. I traded this for something else. I'm pretty sure everybody thought he got me. But little repair work. And the graphics card is running great. So he can have his system. I got a graphics card out of it that works really great. It's 12 gigabyte of VRAM. Very happy with it. I'm sitting here looking at it now. Temperatures have gone back down. Yeah. So that's the video. Finding out a motherboard is not working is not the easiest thing I've ever done. This is kind of the extreme of testing, checking every component, and then buying another motherboard, putting all those same components in it, and seeing if it works. And then going one step further, which was kind of scary, putting the graphics card that caused all this to happen in the first place, put it back in, even stress tested it, and everything works great. Super happy. So if you like this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, think about subscribing. Hit that bell for notifications for videos as they come up in the future. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Hope you like it. Leave a comment down below if you have questions. Oh, and by the way, I also went from a ASUS motherboard to an MSI motherboard using the same NVMe drive. It's got some conflicts. There's going to be some driver issues. I will fix those by just reinstalling software, uninstalling software. That's a bit of a challenge, but not that big a deal. So if you're wondering if you can do it, there you go, you can do it. But they expect there be some nuances to it. But the great thing with Windows 11, it's going to find the drivers that you really need and install them for you. Problem solved. Thanks for watching.